She was told she was too aggressive, too muscular, too loud, too black. She was drug-tested more than any other athlete in her sport's history. She was banned from competing in her own country's national championships. She won 4 Olympic gold medals and still had to fight for a single endorsement deal. And today, she is worth more than $1 billion. Her name is Serena Williams. She is the richest black female athlete in American history. She holds 23 Grand Slam singles titles. She has built a venture capital firm, a clothing brand, a production company, and an investment portfolio that spans everything from tech startups to real estate. But here is the question that nobody asks clearly enough. How does a black woman, born into poverty in Compton, California, systematically excluded, undervalued, and undermined at every turn, end up breaking every rule about how wealth is supposed to be built in America? And what does her blueprint mean for every black woman who comes after her? Act 1. Born into a different kind of hunger. To understand Serena Williams, you have to understand where she started. She was born on September 26, 1981, in Saginaw, Michigan. She grew up in Compton, one of the most economically disadvantaged cities in Los Angeles County. Her father, Richard Williams, coached both Serena and her sister Venus on cracked, gang-ridden public tennis courts, using balls he fished out of dumpsters, following a plan he had written before either girl was born. He had watched Virginia Ruzici win a tennis match on television and calculated the prize money. Then he decided he was going to raise 2 daughters to dominate this sport. Serena Williams was 6 years old when she first held a racket. She was 17 when she won her first Grand Slam title. The girl from Compton had just won the 1999 US Open, one of the most prestigious tournaments in the world, defeating the reigning world #1 in the final. She had not been handed a path. She had been handed a vision, and then she ran harder than anyone expected. Act 2. The net worth. What $1 billion looks like when you built it yourself. Let us talk about the number. Serena Williams became a billionaire, formally recognized by Forbes in 2023, making her one of the very few self-made female athlete billionaires on the planet. $1 billion. But here is what separates Serena's wealth from almost every other athlete who has ever earned a paycheck. She built the majority of it outside of tennis. Her on-court earnings total roughly $94 million in prize money, the highest ever for any female tennis player in history. But prize money alone does not make a billionaire. What made Serena a billionaire was the decision she made in 2014, the decision to start investing. She launched Serena Ventures, her venture capital firm, initially funding companies quietly and personally before opening it to outside investment. By 2022, Serena Ventures had raised $111 million and built a portfolio of more than 60 companies, 78% of which were founded by women or people of color. She did not just invest in companies. She invested in founders who looked like her. In a world that had spent decades telling her she did not belong, she built a fund specifically for the people who had been told the same thing. Act 3. The fight. What she had to overcome to get there. The story of Serena's wealth cannot be told without the story of the war she had to fight to keep it. Throughout her career, Serena Williams was subjected to more random drug tests than virtually any other player on tour. She was penalized on court in moments that cost her matches and Grand Slams. She was fined, mocked, and depicted in international media with racist caricatures that her peers never faced. Off the court, the endorsement world was slower to embrace her. For years, despite being the most dominant tennis player alive, Serena's commercial deals did not match those of white counterparts with a fraction of her titles. She faced something even more terrifying than career discrimination in 2017. Following the birth of her daughter Olympia, Serena nearly died from a pulmonary embolism, a complication she had to diagnose herself after hospital staff initially dismissed her concerns. She had experienced blood clots before and recognized the symptoms. She had to advocate aggressively for her own medical care while recovering from a C-section. She survived. She returned to professional tennis 6 months later and reached the Wimbledon final. That is not perseverance in the inspirational poster sense. That is a woman who refused to be erased by the sport, by the system, or by her own body. Act 4. The brand. How she turned herself into an empire. Most athletes earn money. Serena Williams turned herself into a company. She launched her own fashion line, S by Serena, in 2018, a direct-to-consumer clothing brand with an emphasis on sizes and styles built for women whose bodies had never been centered in luxury fashion. It was personal. It was strategic. It was hers. She has served on the board of SurveyMonkey and holds equity stakes in companies, including the Miami Dolphins NFL franchise, making her one of a small handful of Black women in American history to hold ownership in a major professional sports team. She produced the biographical drama King Richard, the 2021 film about her father's vision that brought her and Venus's story to a global audience and won the Academy Award for Best Actor. She was both a subject and a producer. She did not just let Hollywood tell her story. She owned a piece of the telling. Her portfolio spans wellness, beauty, technology, media, and sports. She built it not by waiting for the door to open, but by financing her own doors and handing the keys to people who had been left outside. Act 5. The retirement, when walking away is also a power move. In August 2022, Serena Williams announced that she was stepping away from professional tennis. She did not call it retirement. She called it evolving away from tennis. She was 40 years old. She had 23 Grand Slam titles, one short of the all-time record she had chased for years. She was leaving the sport, not broken by it, but intentionally on her own terms, mid-mission. She wrote about the decision in Vogue magazine. She was honest about the grief of it, the sacrifice, the awareness that her body and her family demanded more than elite competition could allow alongside them. What she did not say, but what the world could see, was this. She was not retiring from power. She was redirecting it. Within 12 months of that announcement, Serena Ventures had completed its fundraise. She was appearing at startup conferences as an investor, not a celebrity visitor. She was sitting at tables where capital gets deployed, not performing for the people who sit at those tables. She traded one kind of dominance for another, and she did it deliberately, gracefully, and on her own timeline. Act 6. The blueprint. Why this was never just about tennis. Serena Williams is not powerful because she won 23 Grand Slams. Those titles are evidence. They are not the source. The source is something her father installed in her when she was 6 years old on those public courts in Compton. The belief that she was building something, not just competing in something. Every endorsement deal she signed, she studied. Every business she entered, she sought equity. Every stage she stood on, she asked, "What do I own here?" That is not a question that athletes are typically encouraged to ask. The sports industry runs on the labor of mostly Black and brown athletes and the wealth of mostly white ownership structures. Most players are taught to be grateful for their contracts. Serena Williams was taught by her father, by her experience, and eventually by her own hard-won wisdom to read the contract, question the contract, and when necessary, write her own. She became the standard bearer for a generation of Black female athletes who followed her into ownership. Naomi Osaka with her agency and media company. Angel Reese with her NIL empire. Caitlin Clark's unprecedented commercial leverage, made possible in part because Serena proved the market for women's sports could be transformed. She did not just break records on the court. She broke the assumption about what a black female athlete was allowed to become. Act 7. The future. What $1 billion means from here. Serena Williams is 43 years old. She has one Grand Slam title short of the record the world expected her to claim. She has a daughter she is raising. She has a venture firm actively backing the next generation of founders. She has a fashion brand, a production company, a sports ownership stake, and an investment portfolio that compounds quietly while the world wonders when she is coming back to tennis. She is not coming back. She is somewhere far more interesting. Here is the thing most people still do not fully understand about Serena Williams' power. It is not the billion. It is not the titles. It is the fact that she built her wealth in direct defiance of every system that was designed to limit it. She was tested more than her peers. She was paid less than she was worth. She was depicted as something less than fully human by media outlets in countries that handed her trophies with one hand and insults with the other. And she took every single one of those obstacles and converted them into motivation, into capital, into ownership, into legacy. Richard Williams drove his daughters to cracked courts in Compton with a plan written before they could walk. Serena Williams took that plan and built something her father could not have fully imagined, not because he lacked vision, but because the world his daughter would come to reshape did not yet exist. The richest black female athlete in American history is not powerful because of what she survived. She is powerful because of what she built while surviving it. And the most extraordinary chapter of that story has not been written yet.